Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the morning brief. Today, Wednesday, June 10th. Added a new squadron member last night, so the welcome to a jumper on board. So that brings us up to 5 now. So slowly but surely growing. I did want to share out real quick what is going on with the webcast, just so you know. You may not care as much as I do, and I get that, but here's what's going on. First of all, there's the daily winners down at the bottom of the front page. Looks like we need to add a fourth win on there for Apex. But here's what's going on. So this is the OTOTnow website. The first episode is here now, so folks can click on that and they can click on this to get to all the episodes. I took it to Apple yesterday, so have everything set up there. They have to approve it. Once they approve it, then they say drop about 10 episodes in the next day or so, then shoot it out to everybody, which is the Spotify's and the iHeart, all the different players out there that you have for podcasts. And then the first 30 days are critical. So I'll drop, about $1,000 or so on advertising it. And I'm on Twitter now, at Steve Anchorstar, fancy name there. But basically a mass push is what you shall see. And then of course that drives folks to the website, which should drive them to the join a squadron, which would lead to a few more people signing up and a little more banter in the morning. So anyhow, that's kind of what's going on with everything. Just give you some background there. All right, take you over to the morning brief. So that's what we've got. I'll talk about this for a second. I see your comment there, Predator. Not that I know of, but we did have some tech issues this morning, so it seems like we do a little bit more learning every day. So we'll see if we can narrow that down. Okay, big objectives out there for everyone. We're going to grow our money, protect our money, then live off our money. Today we're going to talk about payment processors. So think Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Square. We're going to talk about those names. And then we'll get into the academic topic of the day. I'm going to talk about the interest rates and Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve, today is a Federal Reserve Day. So every 6 weeks or so, they come out, and then that's when they make their changes. So as far as the flow, we'll go long, short, open, short, long, like we always do. We'll start with the market review, go around the headlines. There's the big names we're going to take a look at. Probably the only one you might not recognize is Western Union, which is kind of the dinosaur of the crowd. We'll talk about some day trading stuff, and then we'll get into the Q&A and presentation from there. Standard disclaimer at the bottom. If you have any tech issues, there's the email account for you to check out. Okay, let's go to the TD Ameritrade Think Pipes. We're going to go to a one-year chart and kind of look at where we've been. Obviously, it's been a heck of a run. So it's a green. We ended up at a green candlestick yesterday, so that means we closed higher than we did where we opened, even though it was an interesting path kind of yesterday. NASDAQ did get above the 10,000 point mark yesterday. There's nothing magic about that other than it's a fancy headline, which generally means once you start hitting those levels, you tend to, it's like slingshot through those levels. So it's always good when you hit, the win streak, and Kramer's on CNBC right now talking about it. So that gets everybody all fired up, right? We touched 10,000, which is meaningless, but it's not for investor psychology. So I would expect the tech names to continue to roar. That's obviously being led by your Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Google, those sorts of names, many of which hit new highs, and many of which not only hit new highs, but got upgrades. And I do think those names have a lot further to run. So that's where we are. Let's move over to the charts. We'll look at a little closer level of where we were in the past 5 days. So again, yesterday in the white there, kind of a pretty steady move up into the close. And then you see the futures went up last night in the gray there, and then all the way down and then back up. And it looks like everything's in the green as we open here. Okay, over to the calendar. Some earnings that were out this morning. Chewy. Talked with a couple of folks about Chewy yesterday. So they obviously beat earnings, but then again, the stock sells off. Why is that? Because it was kind of priced to perfection. Bunch of excitement going into it. So then, the Facebook used to do this all the time too. Unless they absolutely blew out projections with some crazy numbers, then the stock would sell off. So that's what you're seeing on there. Okay, let's go down to CNBC for the headline review, and we'll go around the world first. So taking a look at the futures, there we go. Taking a look at the futures, in the green there, they were not earlier. So depending on when you first looked this morning, that's what we have going on. And again, NASDAQ, expect tech to have a big day since it had such a big day yesterday. Okay, in Europe, kind of mixed across the board in Europe. Again, waiting on the Fed is the big, even Europe waiting on the Fed is the big issue there. Pretty well, not anything real exciting going on in Asia. Again, this was yesterday that had the run up in the NASDAQ, closed in the green there. The little bit of a sell-off on the 10-year. Again, today's an interest rate day, so Fed's not going to change the interest rates. You can see the top of Powell's head down there, so I'm sure it'll have some comments there. But the no expectations for the interest rate today, but they did not provide forward guidance last meeting because we were in the middle of the big March sell-off. So today it'll be interesting, and what everybody's really waiting for is what are they going to say about going forward for interest rate projections. I personally think we're sitting at 0 for at least a year, maybe 2, maybe 8, like we did coming out of the global financial recession. So we could be down here. It's lower for longer. Again, you're not going to be able to get a CD worth a darn anytime soon, right? It's kind of the market's the only place to be. All right, as far as the oil, a little bit of a sell-off there, nothing huge to worry about. And then precious metals are in the green, decent move up in silver and copper there. You could see, if you're a contrarian, if you're worried about the election, you can buy guns and gold. There is no problem with that going into the election as a thesis. That's not my thing necessarily, but a lot of folks think that way. So, all right, here we go. There's Jerome Powell, chairman of the Fed. I think he's doing a fantastic job. If you kind of think back to, some people said the Fed started the sell-off. Well, in a way they did. If you're watching videos that I made through another forum, we had the COVID-19 talk start. It's like, okay, Wuhan, everybody's kind of getting educated. You know, people weren't quite experts on Facebook yet. Give them a day or two, and then they were. But you had the, hey, what's going on with this big virus thing, and is it going to be nasty and all that? So we have that storyline coming out. And then on a Sunday, early March, the Fed came out of nowhere and dropped half a point. Like, holy crap, like emergency rate cut. Because normally they move the rates on meetings. Like today, he would get on, 1 p.m. this afternoon, Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. He's going to get on the mic, boom, the statement will drop. The statement's only a couple paragraphs. Everybody, the market jumps off of that. So, but they can change it anytime they want. So they had an emergency meeting they didn't tell anybody about, and they dropped it 0.5%. And of course, we limited down the next day on the Monday. Then out of kind of nowhere, they took it down to 0. So if anything, the Fed might have spooked the markets into selling off pretty hard, maybe harder than they needed to. But I overall think the Fed has done a great job. And we'll talk more a little bit about the Fed later. All right. Amazon has an interesting story out. They're opening up credit lines, which Amazon eventually is going to have to obviously be broken up because they keep, buying into everything. So very lucrative for them. They're making small business loans that you can go online through your Amazon account and in seconds literally get up to $1 million loan for your small business. There's obviously risk in that. But they're charging their credit card rates. They're charging 7% up to like 26% based off of your credit rating, and they loan that money right out. So they're in the bank business now. So interesting as far as a storyline. Okay, Starbucks, you see the big numbers there. Pull Starbucks up in the upper right. I want to see how their stock's doing. Starbucks is a name used to be in quite a bit there. Again, talking about a highly addictive product, high margin. Starbucks kind of fell out of favor. They got involved in politics, which a lot of SBUX is the ticker on that. So I'm looking at another screen. Okay, well, their stock is selling off a little bit. Go to a 5-minute chart. I just want to kind of see how the stock's reacting. Okay, yeah, they dropped overnight from 83 down to 79, so that might be a short option to take a look at there. And we'll get back to that in a minute. Okay, so everybody kind of expected that. All right. There's with the social unrest out there and Black Lives Matter movement, you'll see more headlines like this, Gone with the Wind. And I saw some other stuff that's dropping off the standard viewing. You'll still be able to get that content if that is your thing, but you won't be able to get it through like Netflix or any of the streamers sort of thing. Mortgage demand's going back up again, so that is a good sign for not only the housing market, but people aren't scared to move out there, so that is healthy. Political maneuvering going on, that is standard kind of nonsense there. Airlines came out, they're getting a pretty big negative push from the some crazy tech stuff going on here. They're getting a lot of, they've run up so much that there's a lot of negative headlines out there, some downgrades, so expect maybe the airlines to sell off today. We'll take a look at those. AMC is a name we've also talked about. It's been a short for a while. They're starting their plans to open their theaters back up. We'll see if people go. I think they will, to be honest. Maybe skipping some chairs, but we shall see. Small caps, we talked about whether they need to join, whether they are going to catch up with everybody or whether they are going to lag the overall market. Here's one headline saying that they beat the S&P this quarter. I haven't looked at that yet. Maybe they have. Chewy we'll talk about more, I believe, later. WHO, they keep coming out with these comments. It's just like, this is awesome. And then they retract themselves. So it's kind of funny to watch along, but you can catch all that on Facebook. Okay, so that is it for the headline review. We're going to go up and talk to the Schwab Big Board, and then we're going to talk about the payment processors that are out there. So when you think of this, think, you know, your big names are across the board to the left there with your Visa and your MasterCard. So Visa, I don't really have a best of breed between the two. So I kind of treat them as either or. Their dividends pay less than 1%, so you get a little something, but not a huge dividend payer. Their business models are almost identical, so I can't make a call between the two names. Both are fine. I tend to call them, these are more of your kind of safety stocks, if you will. Even though people may stop spending in a recession, there's still going to be so many things that are processed through Visa and MasterCard that they aren't going to get hit too bad. You can see their price movements and their stocks are almost identical. Looks like MasterCard might have fallen a little bit harder, but sometimes that's the chart scale that's accentuating that. But neither have fully recovered. I think both are fine here. If that's a safe name, say you're worried about the election and building some portfolio safety in, might not be a bad way to go. Okay, the next one is PayPal. Both PayPal and Square, which is the fourth one over, those are names that kind of your high-tech names, if you will. PayPal has been on fire for a long time now. You can see kind of the big run up, a little bit of a hit, and then right back, nice bounce. Square, the same thing. Square's a little more, you know, PayPal was started by Elon Musk and a couple others that are now out of it. But excuse me, PayPal, if I said Square, it's PayPal. Square is Dorsey, same guy that started Twitter. So a lot of political involvement with Square there. So I think that has held the stock back because they're active in making donations left and right. So there's a lot more kind of like the Starbucks model, a lot more going on than just selling coffee or processing payments. It's almost a political activism type of stock, and I think that hurts the stock there. I'm not in either of those names. I'd rather stick with a Visa or MasterCard, or lower right Shopify. We'll talk about in a second. Western Union is what I would call a dinosaur stock. If you think Western Union's been around for probably 100 years, that's where you would go get your money order. I had to get a money order the other day, and I didn't know those things still existed. I felt like I went back to the 1980s. I had to go get cash out of the ATM and then walk over to the counter and buy a money order to get a passport. So that whole system was stuck in the 80s, and it took several hours, of course, to be able to do a simple task. So government. So I wouldn't touch Western Union with the stick. I did want to throw it up there because it is still around and still people need money orders on occasion. Okay, in the bottom right is Shopify. Not necessarily a true payment processor, but that's a portion of its business. If you have your own website, like I have my OTOT now, once I stand up the merch and swag and all that stuff, to be able to sell patches, coins, if people are interested, shirts, coffee mugs, that sort of thing. There's a Shopify print on demand shop, SPOD, that is a portion of their business where I can simply say, these are the products I want, here's my logo, and it's all built for you. It's like ka-chunk, and it shows up. And then if somebody orders something, they take care of collecting the money, paying me a little bit for that, paying whoever's making the t-shirt, and paying the shippers, and that shows up to the person's door. So I, as a small business owner, just happen to make money and it hits my account. I don't have to worry about any of the rest of it. So Shopify has been on a tear. It doesn't look that impressive, but when you really back the chart down, realize that at the bottom of the dip down to 300, and it's now, over doubled that, up at 745. I do think Shopify has more room to run. I don't like buying things that are expensive like this, or relatively expensive, or that have run up. But Shopify has just kind of nailed the business model. So that would be a name I would support. So overall, Visa and MasterCard safety. I wouldn't touch PayPal or Square just because they're, PayPal's run up too much. Square's too political for me. And then Western Union is a dinosaur, and Shopify is fine. Okay, with that, let's go over to the tabs. We'll take a look for some short names. The first one we'll take a look at is put in GMAB, G-M-A-B. This is another one. It's a headline kind of deal for a cancer partnership with AbbVie. So they closed at a 28.8, gapping up $1. So not a huge gap, but some pretty good news. And when you look at the, you can see the partnership, 750 million there. I saw 4 billion as another number, which I can't remember where I got it. But big numbers are associated with this, so we could see a move higher there. So that's the first one in my notes. Okay, over in the volume, the NIO, top of the board, if you've heard me talk about NIO, the Chinese EV electric vehicle maker, one of many, but one that seems to be a sweetheart out there. Not much of a gap down. Airlines, cruise lines, retail, all in play on high volume. They're not moving a lot, but that's almost a good. If you were thinking about taking one of these shorts, it's the fact that they haven't moved a lot. I would probably be more along the lines of the United there, since it's moved almost 3%, or even Norwegian down at 4%. But the storylines there if that's how you want to take a trade. Not a huge headline, just a couple of downgrades. So would you get a 3-hour move? I don't know, but it's an option. I'll put, since I said UAL, I'll put that in my notes too. We'll cycle through and look at that short later on. And again with Norwegian, I'll just say that's not trades I would take personally, but something to keep an eye on. They meet our criteria. Okay, let's go to the next tab. Lakeland, don't know what they do. Go ahead and click that, bring it up over there. So must have crushed earnings, 45 in reaction to earnings guidance down there at the bottom. So 45% is too much of a gap for me. So went from 16 up to 25. Not going to touch that just because of that. But the next one, 5, is 5 below. So you can see in the chart there, gapping up from 103 to 115, 11% gap, a little big, but 5 below is a retail name, discount retailer. We actually go there, so it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. Does it have 3-hour potential? Yeah, maybe. That would have to probably, you'd end up with $1 plus stop. We'll see. We can watch that into the open. Tesla, okay, gapping up. kind of crazy, over 5%. There was a couple of upgrades. I think I saw a stock projection that it should be worth 3,000. I also read an article in response to that, that if Tesla was profitable and they made $1 per share, that their stock price would then be able to be valued up to $40 a share. If it was profitable. It's not profitable. It's had a profitable quarter. Yay. It's never been profitable for a full year in any year sliding scale. Insane, just insane. I can't, is what I can't do, is can't talk about that one. So anyhow, watch that if you want, have fun. It's a clear short, but not today probably. Okay, so let's move on to the decliners and see what we can find in Declinerville. Okay, we do have the volume in IMR in. That gap is kind of huge. I'm not going to even bring it up. Chesapeake, its name we talked yesterday, CHK. Let's bring that up and take a look. So big gap down. Obviously, this is one that's moving into bankruptcy here, so potential short. I'm going to put it on my watch list. Don't like that gap down, but you got to ask yourself, and here's why these things, what's called strike down. When you get that big red line on a 1 minute chart, that's in trader terms, that's a stripe. So you get the big strike down is when there are no buyers, is when you just the level 2, somebody asked the other day about level 2 analysis. If you really get into that, which I don't have the brain cells to yet while I'm running the room, but you get into that and you just don't see any buy orders, that means it's all sell. So the first buyer that shows up can basically demand a lower price, right? So that's where you get that big move down. Who's buying Chesapeake at 20, even, yeah, $20 a share? I don't know. You could get 3 hour out of this trade if it falls below 19. That's probably realistic. So we'll take a look at it. I wouldn't take this out of the gate. Again, I'd take it at the 2 or 3 minute point. We'll watch this real time and see if it sets up from there. All right. Variant, not quite enough volume. I don't know what they do. Okay, I see Predators in on Variant. Let's see what I can decipher here. So they're in an earnings thing, yeah, disappointing Q1 results. So, okay, earnings miss, gapping from 49 to 46. That's in the heart of what we like at that 5 to 10%. So it's certainly set up a little bit low on the volume. So we'll see what the story is there. It certainly, we'll have that up on the screen since the Predator on a 4-day winning streak is calling that out as his short. So make sure to give that its appropriate due. Nikola's up there, may have heard that name. So overnight, Nikola came out of the move up that it had in the past 2 days. It has a larger market cap than Ford or Fiat Chrysler. Guess how many cars Nikola's made? Well, they don't make cars, they make trucks. I got you. It wasn't a trick question. Guess how many trucks they've made? 0. They've sold 0. They've made some prototypes. So again, it's a heck of a compelling story. So this is just one to watch. It's what do we have? Click on Nikola there. So it's gapping down a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's see, gapping down to 76. We've watched the movement on that. We kind of have to wait and see. I don't know. It could be one of these. If everybody thinks it's going to follow the Tesla path as far as a stock, and I'm going to give that some time to see if that happens. But if it starts falling below 60 or 55, I don't know. Yeah, it is worth more today than Ford or Fiat Chrysler. Crazy. So, but well, you want to ride the wave in investing. So if it's going, it's going. So that's another name we will look at. It would be setting up as a short. I would just say I'm just going to put watch. I don't know how that storyline is going to play out. Okay, let's go to the 25% gainers there. All right, let's see. All right, AMC gapping up, you know the storyline. It's gotten crushed and they lost a big investor and they thought they were going under and now they're opening back up. So the stock's worth 16% more. I wouldn't touch that, but it's certainly a compelling storyline for you. Mortgages, not going to touch. Azul, Double click on that. I don't know what Azul is, so I'm more curious than anything else. Okay, it's Azul SA, which I want to say is Brazil. So we're not going to mess with Azul. All right. Invesco Mortgage is setting up as a long. That's kind of interesting. Click Invesco IVR. So this is right in a decent price range. You see how fall? I mean, 2 days ago or yesterday it was up at 750, down at 5. Opened at closed at 560, up at 590. I kind of like that long on the mortgage story. IVR long mortgage. Keep an eye on that. Okay, last tab. There's your 5 below again. Tesla again. All right, we'll let that one go. Let's go over to, excuse me, while we're here. I saw some other names pop up. Let's put in Hertz, HTZ. Okay, and so 418 down to 348. So again, just basically falling off the cliff there. So that'd be an interesting short. Let's put in save. What do we have here? 22 dropping down to 21 on the airline downgrade. So, okay, let's go ahead and configure the TD Ameritrade, or excuse me, Think Pipes there. And I'm going to put my trade in. Everybody else is short. I'll just take a long trade for fun. I think I've talked myself into this one. I would not take this with real money, but let's put in IVR in the main screen and then put their shorts off to the right. Figuring out my stop. Okay, I'm gonna take IVR long with the 20-cent stop. It's kind of a big stop. If you look at the chart, I'm gonna show you here. So say it opens in this, somewhere in this range, right? Well, when you look at setting your stop, so 595 to 575, we'll call it that channel. What I'm really trying to do, since I'm taking this long, is I have to kind of honor this because that was the low of the day. So that's why I'm thinking, okay, there's where I get my 20-cent stop. So generally I'm looking at the stop first, and then kind of that now with my R unit determines how many shares I take. So that's where we have there. The CHK obviously here, get us to a focus chart. See if you can get that down to a 1-minute chart there on CHK. Thank you. So short, then you would be honoring that high. It bumped up to 21.5 or so. So depending on your stop and when you take it, you might need a bigger stop there. And then let's see. Etsy showed up. Sorry, I didn't give you a chart on that early. Short with a 10-cent stop. 10-cent stop's going to be really, really tight there. It's hard to be not knocked out of that with the 10-cent stop. But it will need, you're taking it right at the open, so it will need to fall off the chart. So, all right, check our volume, and we will wait for the open. So we've got IVR long, Chesapeake, and Etsy short. Let's go. Let's get rid of my IVR long. We can come back to that, and let's put VRNT short into the main screen. Again, low volume is why you're not seeing a whole lot there, but we will once it opens. Fix that screen. All right, so 3 shorts, and I've taken a contrario long. No, I'm just saying, just at the price point, Geach, it's setting up for a. There's our bell. I didn't see the storyline behind Etsy, so you got the move you wanted. Look at that. So So you can start with his entry there and draw on Etsy. So you may be set up for success there. So you get the entry point there a little higher, top right at that, right there you go. Let's call it 886, 8086 or so, and draw it to the left. There you go. So fell right out of the gate, so that's a heck of a move down. And then your 10 cent through 3R would be, I mean, you've already hit that. So in the real world, you'd be out of the trade. We'll let it sit here and cook for you there. So your 3R, what did we say, 80, 84, so 8024 is your 3R. So go ahead and draw it 8024. And you can see how you would have hit that right out of the gate. So very nice there. Okay, let's see what's going on in Chesapeake. Chesapeake popped up. So let's see, 30% upper stop on burner there. So let's pick the open out of, right, get to that where that says 830 right there. It looks like it opened at 2020. So would have stopped you out to the upside there on Chesapeake. However, that is something I would keep, we'll just keep watching there. I do like the setup in Chesapeake right around that 21 range. So in the real world, outside of the competition, I'd keep watching. If you got a couple of bars there right in that between 2050 and 2021, as soon as you get a red, then you can take that trade short. All right, let's look at variant. It opened up at 46.30, kind of traveled a lot, popped up less than 10 cents. Boy, that's kind of a perfect entry if you took it at the open. And 46.3 and has already dropped stripe. And that, I mean, that's that stripe I was talking about in variant. So in at 2 minutes, out at 10. So there's your entry point. Yep. So you can draw that. So, and then the upper stop was add 10 to that. Let's see, what was it, 20? Add 20 to whatever that was. Yep. So there's the upper stop for the Predator. And then of course, subtract the 60 cents off of that would be your 3R to the downside. So it looks like that is working as well. So Etsy's working and in the green. Chesapeake, I think we said we were out of it, but again, here's, you know, look at Chesapeake short, I think is a very compelling, you could even, I didn't like that green bar, but if you were taking this trade real time, I'd be staring at Chesapeake for an entry here, because I do think you're going to get that stripe down into the 19s. Yeah, I'd take Chesapeake short right here at 2025. Go ahead and draw on the chart for me since I called it out loud. Taking a 2025 as the entry, taking it short with a you know, about 30-cent stop. So yeah, 2025-ish is where I'd say enter. I think that's going to stripe down. So 30 cent, that would take me all the way down to about 1940 or so is where I'd be out of that trade. So kind of talking about Chesapeake now, I mean, nice striping down there in variant. Chesapeake, again, if you delay for that entry, I said that's set up for it to fall off. There's where you're getting the big red stripe out of Chesapeake there. So we'll see if that holds. Okay, Etsy's backing up, so it looks like we are out of the Etsy trade. If I have it was Etsy short at 10 cents, so yeah, that's going to stop you out on Etsy. Look at that. Who's buying Etsy here? Let's look at mine. You can get rid of Etsy. We'll put in IVR down at the bottom. I said IVR, what did I say? Long with a 20-cent stop in at 2 minutes. That's kind of hard to tell. Let's put IVR in the big screen and switch it with variant. All right, so we'll go to 832 for the, okay, once we find it there, 832. The open at 832 was 575. So variant, excuse me, IVR long, 575. I think I'm out of this trade already. And it's down at, I said, what, 20 cents? So 555, it's just hammered through that. So I'm out of that long in IVR. So IVR is dead, Etsy's dead. We can switch a variant back. And put Nicola in KLA. So it's selling off pretty hard. That's again one to watch. Okay, what's going on in Chesapeake? Did back up there some, so I didn't draw the upper stop, so we might have been stopped out on that. But I think you're still going to see that big stripe down, more stripes down in Chesapeake. So I'm not worried about that trade. Obviously, variance working as well. Let's look at the big board. Let's check out the markets overall. See how they're doing. Okay, NASDAQ's over 10,000 and just hit that. That's 0.5% up. So that's probably going to be a force for, you know, the markets to go long. Dow and S&P are still just barely in the red. Nicola's popping up there, almost $5 a share. Okay, looking at upper left there on ThinkPipes. LK getting some love, 5% up. Golf claps across the board. We see Tesla there, ELY's Callaway Golf, nice. PayPal, we talked about PayPal this morning. MDB is MongoDB, a software firm, so is CRM. See Amazon up on the news about it getting into the payday loan, not payday, but getting into the small business loan. Hero is the esports ETF that we've talked about. Got your DraftKings up there. It's a little bit. DraftKings holding around 40, which is good to see. TTD is Trade Desk. That's another name that you'll hear me talk about on occasion as far as digital media and advertising. Opening up in India, it's so expensive as a stock, but wow, I mean, opening in India now, there's plans there. I can't remember if they've already opened in China a little bit, but anyhow, really expanding out their market. Brilliant leadership on the part of Trade Desk. Jack Henry, it's a bank. Blackstone's up there in the green. All right, let's take a look at the ugly. What do we have in red? Clickstream down a little bit. That's penny stock. Delta Airlines. Again, just seeing Nikola. It is pronounced Nikola. I got some clarification. It's Nicola, excuse me. It's pronounced like the Ricola, the cough drop. So I should be saying Nikola. It's not Nikolai, which is Tesla's actually first name. It's not spelled the same either because he had an I on his. So they can't be sued. Minerals, Brigham Minerals, that's an Austin firm. Love is Southwest Airlines. You see Boeing selling off. They sold off 5% yesterday. Don't worry, you don't have to worry about Boeing. Boeing will be just fine. They had that huge move up. So, all right, let's go back to the green. All right, let's see. Apex is in till 10 minutes, so we still have that working. Chesapeake. Looks like it's still working. If I remember right, we'll back and take the math. We've got till 20 minutes to figure that one out. Let's look on the bottom right at some other names. GMAB was the first name we threw out there. That was the pharmaceutical long. It was low volume. It's not getting any love. Well, it's small trading zone. So again, you wouldn't be stopped out of that, but not a whole lot of love. And it's a smaller name. UAL short. Again, we're looking at the lower right. That pretty much fell off the cliff, almost $1. So depending on where your stops are, that could have been a nice, easy money-making short. We'll see. That would have worked. NCLH. If you're shorting into that and the only bars you see are red for the first 9 minutes, you're probably dancing around in your boxers since you're a trader, because that's a heck of a move, almost $1 there, and you didn't even really have to get your heart rate up over that trade. So short and cruise lines, keep an eye on that. That could be a continuation as they've run up so much on the hopes that everything was going to pop right open, but really any negative headline as far as COVID or anything, and you could see more moves like that. So that would have worked. We talked about 5 long. Again, this is 5 below. It's a discount retailer. So there it looks like it would not have worked out of the gate, but there's all that, remember I talked about all that traffic at a certain level. When you get kind of that traffic at the 116 to 116.50 level, that would have been an interesting place to enter long, but it looks like that big red bar is gonna fight against it. It was already up 12%, so when I think of our zones of that 5 to 10% at the open, it was kind of out of that already. So 5 would not have worked. Chesapeake we're in, Variant we're in, Nikola we're just watching, and then IVR busted, so no bueno there. Okay, looking back at the overall market, the S&P looks like it's gone in the green. NASDAQ again is still marching higher there. Dow's down still 0.5%. What you will see on a Fed day is you'll see the standard moves out of the morning, and then you really don't see much at all until the Fed meeting minutes at 2 p.m. Eastern. So there you go. All right, I'm going to scan through the chat a little bit while we're keeping an eye on things. Let's see, Geach, Jumper, Burner, if you can comment. I see Apex Predator commented before you guys got in the room saying his screen looked clearer today. Just say if it looks the same or if it's better or worse than normal for how your screens look. Appreciate that. Same, okay. Clearer. Okay, well, maybe it's something on our end that we did. We've got a new screen we wanted to debut today, but ThinkPipes took it from us just prior to the open, or just prior to going live. So I think we have a better answer for clarity, for being able to give you a little more contrast in the background. So we're looking at that. Okay, drug dealers using Western Union. Yeah, maybe. Now it's Bitcoin, right? Who needs Western Union when you can go completely autonomous? Let's check out Hertz lower right. We haven't looked at that to see if that would have worked. Okay, again, that's that perfect setup, Predator, that you and I have certainly talked about. Is wait for it to back up in the morning, and then that's a 80% basically 5-minute stripe down. I mean, that's ridiculous. So again, bankruptcy story there. So that, depending on when you took it, as long as you were patient for the entry, that would have worked like a champ. Save, Spirit Airlines, we didn't talk about that too much. Let's hit save lower right. Same thing, a little back up at the open. So 20 opened around 2050, backed up almost to 21, and then smooth sailing straight south as a short there. So for over, that's over $1 depending on when you took the short there. So kind of a beautiful move. So it looks like the airlines would have been the play today. All right, let's put Etsy in the bottom right. Looks like Burner took it short. Etsy falling off, goodness, yeah, look at that. 200 at 82.75, beautiful entry. Stop limit at 81, so yeah, you would hit that in a heartbeat. So that's a sweet, if that was your 3R, yeah, 3R plus trade, right? So I would have been happy with 3R there on the downside with that 81 limit there, Burner. If you held a few shares for a little more, maybe you got a little more, but it's so hard to exit, and you probably saw how fast that went. For that move down in Etsy there, because that's a $1 move in that 1 minute. So good job on making some money there. $350 plus, so very nice. If that's 100 R, or excuse me, if an R of 100, then your 3R, you're 350. And you might, when I talk about slippage, even though you tried to get out at 81 or your limit was set at 81, it's falling so fast that even when you go to buy at 81 and cover, you're short. You might have even gotten a significantly better price. So another half of an R, if you will, from slippage. It can work both ways though. So congrats there. Okay, coming back up, kind of catching up on things. Yeah, sorry. What was the Etsy storyline? Somebody type that in, because I didn't pull it up pre-market. Oh, got an upgrade today from Jeffries for $110 a share. They're probably still watching it stripe down there. So yeah, they moved their price target from 71 to 110. That's kind of funny. That's the only headline I see of note. Okay, going back to the chat, kind of catching up on things. Let's see, we can close out the Predators trade. So he opened at 2. So I think is that opened at 45.75. And is that your is that drawn correctly? All right. Is that 45 even? So it looks like 45 even. So 2.75 on what kind of R? Was that a 20-cent R? Let me find it. Yep. So that's going to be a 10 point, excuse me, 13.5 R trade on variant there, taking all the way down to 45, and obviously it's giving you more. It's still going. Look at it. So that was a heck of a trade. That's gonna be tough to beat. Chesapeake is working, so it's in the green, so that's nice. We've got another 4 minutes before that trade closes out. So lots of trades working there. Yeah, Geach, great call, right? I mean, you called it short, and that's the tough on math on the stop. And as soon as you put your trade in there, I was like, ooh, 10 cents a little tough to maintain that on a $80 stock. When you think 10 cents, it's really more of the getting down into that single digit kind of stock. So 20 cent, maybe even 40 cents on a stock that at this level is kind of more of your line. You can see it can move over $1. So if you think 40 cents, if I think it's got a downside of $1.20, that's my 3R. So it's like I can loosen that stop. So if you would have hit your stop in Etsy, so in other words, if Etsy would have worked for you with your 1,000 shares and your 10 cent stop, you would have probably made like 15R, right? I mean, if you put the stop in at 3R, you would hit it like that fast. So you're going to be out of the trade if you put that tight stop in there, if that makes sense. Okay, it looks like money is being made. Yep, props to Geach. And that's what the room's about. And you'll see as the room fills up, there's going to be folks that are going to want to kind of sit back and watch. We've got Jumper and Chinook, kind of more of the passive folks watching, learning. Maybe they're taking trades and not talking about it, and that's okay. They can do whatever they want. Sometimes talking and typing and trading are mutually exclusive events, So I'd rather you be off working stuff. Variance is still falling off the chart. Look at that, down to 44, down 11% on the day. That's beautiful. Rather you off making money than necessarily talking about it, but folks will be bringing ideas to the table. So that's the point of all this. Okay. Looking at the overall market again, S&P's back in the red. NASDAQ's gone from almost 1% up to 0.5% up. So that's going to help the shorts if the market starts coming in there. So we'll start talking about the academic topic of the day, and that's the Federal Reserve. So we'll leave those shorts up because that's just fun to watch. Okay, we got a question. Federal chairman appointed by the president? Yes. Seems like last several years I've been following the market. The Fed has done a fantastic job. Do they run independent of the political party? Great question, and kind of a long-winded answer. So yes, appointed by the president, and then of course when there's a change of administration, generally presidents will keep the Federal Reserve chairman as a continuity move, because it's a little bit, because if you change presidents, you're going to change your treasury secretary, where you kind of want those are your two big people for your monetary and your fiscal policy, right? So you need to have two strong individuals there, and they kind of need to be on the same page. So you don't want to switch them both out right at once. So treasury secretaries stay in place for a long time. Greenspan was in there for a long time. Before Greenspan, I'm blanking on the name, I can picture him. But the Volcker. Paul Volcker was a chairman for that. Then you have Greenspan. Then you had Janet Yellen was in there for a while, and now you have Jerome Powell. By having that continuity in there, it really helps keep everything on track. So the Federal Reserve has the chairman, then you have the governors across the country. So there's other, and they can dissent. So when they vote on something, like you'll see today, when they publish their statement, it'll say, I think there's 9, maybe it's 7 regional governors, if you will. So it'll say who dissented and who was on board with what they're saying. So that kind of lets you know if everybody's exactly on board with the statement. So kind of like the Supreme Court is for money, you can kind of think of it conceptually that way. Are they independent? Absolutely independent. Now, what President Trump did that I personally consider a foul, many people, others think it's a foul too, is he was making commentary on Twitter about the Federal Reserve and what they should and shouldn't be doing. That's his MO, right? So generally, you don't want that happening. You don't want the Federal Reserve chairman feeling pressure from the president. They should be truly an independent body looking at it. But obviously, he's taken some abuse there, and I wonder if that fell into his thinking, his being Jerome Powell's, going into the COVID-19 and how fast they were to take a hatchet to, basically get us back to 0 from over 1% on the short-term rates. So good question there. Let's see. We'll clear that out and I'll talk a little bit about, okay, the Federal Reserve, when you think about the Federal Reserve, they have two mandates, and one's to keep inflation in check and the other is to keep unemployment low. And you're like, well, how can they quite do that? Well, they do it through their monetary policy, and they do it through the short-term interest rates, which we talk about. And we look at, that's when you hear the short-term rate is 0, that's the rate that the banks are lending to each other. That cascades out into the open market by bringing all of the rates down pretty significantly. So you think your 30-year mortgage rate obviously is affected, your 15-year, you can get almost around 2% now. Your 30 years are still hovering above 3. You might have gotten a great deal, or you can buy it down a little bit lower than that. But that's what you really see out of the Federal Reserve. People think every day I hear it about inflation's going to run rampant. Well, there was a lot of talk about that in 2007 to 2009. Just glancing up at Chesapeake, finally rolled over off the cliff. So it looks like a winning trade for Burner, but not going to be anywhere near the 13 plus trade there for Predator. So Predator gets to win 5 days in a row. That's getting old. I have to step up my game personally to defeat that. So back to the Federal Reserve, they, in inflation, you would think in 2007, 2009, we took interest rates to 0. We had bailout. We had QE 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3 back then, 4 later, and then 5 eventually. All of that money printing and helicopter money, if you will, if you remember that term, basically money, Bernanke came up with that. That's another name that I left off the list early. Or, sprinkling money into the economy, sprinkling helicopters full of money into the economy was kind of what that's going with. So it's going to lead to inflation. Well, it didn't. And the fact that it didn't leads people to speculate that it's not going to again coming out of this COVID-19 stimulus packages we're throwing in. Now, these are bigger. These are off into I think we're up to around $6 trillion. The second big stimulus package kind of stalled because the question is, do we really need it or not? I would say state and local governments probably do need it. Everybody else probably has enough stimulus to get by. People like checks and showing up in your bank account. But for the most part, it seems like things are on a path to recovery. So I don't think it'll lead to inflation. But if inflation is a problem, that's a real issue as far as investing, because now if you have bonds aren't a great place to be when prices are inflating, right? Things are costing more, so your bonds are kind of worth less than they were. They'll still pay out on schedule, but that money that's paying out just doesn't buy you as much. You've lost purchasing power. There is no place to go for fixed income as far as CDs Your treasuries paying nothing. I mean, those are holding places for money. You aren't making money there. You're just not losing. So literally the only place to be in an inflationary environment is the stock market, because the stock market's going to pace into that inflation. Obviously, if you're in the room, you're in the market. But for those that are either scared of the market, they think it's a casino, or they think it's too risky, or they took all their money back out at the bottom and now they can't wait, they can't get back in because of the human factor of, well, if I get back in, I have to admit I was wrong. All that human investor psychology. But it's going to be the only place to be if inflation's a problem. So for those that are into stocks and have a large portion of your net worth, inflationary environment's not bad for you. Everything gets more expensive, but your net worth paces it. It's the folks that don't participate or aren't involved that aren't going to keep up. So again, income gaps, you run into some other issues out of that. So that's all I've got for the Fed stuff. Let's check back to our trades. Look at Chesapeake. So it took a while, but it finally fell. This is one of these, if you're still into this, or you went back into it, or you added, or have a few shares still cooking, I would basically just go flat at 9 o'clock. Just be like, I'm going to take, say maybe you had 300 shares and you sold 200 shares at 3R, and now you're just kind of letting the last 100 shares ride. Yeah, 9:30, I would just go, boom, I'm out. And 9:30 Eastern, that is. Boom, I'm out and be done for the day. I would probably be done at a variant too. That's such a big move. And now it's kind of gotten into some congestion there at 44 to 44.50. Yeah, I would just go, if you still had some of that alive, I'd probably kill it. Etsy, yeah, looks like made money. I wouldn't be in that name anymore. I'd kind of kill those trades off as well. So overall for the room, looks like there was some mad money in there. Let's go IVR. Yeah. How am I doing? Holy crap. Down 20% after gapping up pre-market. Is that another drop touchdown pass for me? Goodness gracious, look. There has to be more to that story. They must have gotten a negative headline. So let's not look at IVR anymore. Okay. Put in any other ticker, please. So there's how Nicola is doing, like the cough drop. And let's put in LK. Really? That's LK. Say it isn't so. All right, so LK was given some false hope, and look at it, it's basically fallen off the cliff too. So overall market kind of continuing red. Yep, I know, weapon safe. Ha, done for the day. All right, kids, that was enough. Thanks again for listening. We'll see good banter this morning. Good job on those that made money out of your trades, and we will talk to you tomorrow.